And hey. Good day, everyone. I say day because you might be looking at it from a different time than when we're filming it. So, once again, BIGCED, industry co-sign. My friends are better than yours. I have someone that I respect dearly, and one of the people that I decided to definitely reach out to when I decided to do this series. For those tuning in for the first time, I've been a journalist for about 2 months, and I've gotten sick of. I'm not gonna say I gotten sick, but like from now on, I prefer to give platforms to people that I actually know that are doing things or have been doing things, as opposed to just a typical celebrity or executive. And not to say that I don't do that, but if I have to spend my time in my time, I'm going to do it with people that I honestly like and respect. And one of them is here today, Chanel Rae, and the Legion Media Group. I've worked with her for so long, I can't even remember when we met or how we met, but glad to have you here. I guess you can give a little brief intro and then we can just get right into conversation.
Hi, well, thank you, Seth, for thinking of me. It's really an honor. You are someone I looked up to in the game for a very long time now. I'm a writer first, as I always say, and I am a stand for the writers. And you are definitely one that I've always admired. Not only your work, but again, just you and your professionalism, how you carry yourself, and how well respected you are. So it's an honor and a privilege to be here. As for me, I'm Chanel Rae. I was dubbed a few names in the industry. Came up as a young reporter on the other side of the red carpet, working at In Touch Weekly and so on. And they called me the red carpet hero. And then, within the last decade or so, have more so found my niche in what they consider culture PR, aka I know a lot of black media, and they're finally getting it that they need us. They just don't know how, right? So that's been my niche, entertainment, but also touching other spaces. Most recently in politics, retail, and other entertainment corporate entities, but the majority of my clients have been under the entertainment umbrella for sure.
Definitely. Now, I don't know if I knew this, and then of course, as I'm like, reading your bio again, that you were from the Bronx. I don't know if you knew that, but I definitely have an affinity for all my Bronx peoples.
It's
So,
funny you said I didn't realize that was in the Bronx. So I mean that was in my bio. I grew up on Long Island, and anybody hearing this from Long Island, they would definitely be like, "She's not from the Bronx." I was born in the Bronx.
yeah,
I grew up in Central Islip, Long Island. However, I remind even my sister a lot of times that she still lives there, and she's like, "Girl, you live here, and you don't remember where such and such is." I'm like, I'm a woman of a certain age. I moved out of our parents' house at 17 years old. I spent most of my adult life not on Long Island. So forgive me if I don't remember where the McDonald's is in Smithtown, because no, I don't remember. So yes, I spent most of my adult life in the Bronx, and now I live on the other side of the river in Jersey. Trying to give my child a bit of that suburban life that I had on Long Island, but still have close proximity to the city. So, Jersey, I'm a New Jersey girl.
I'm always going to claim the Bronx, even though I'm on the other side as well. But I guess because typically, like most of the people I do talk to on this platform, like I said, however I met, it's not always particularly the music industry, but it's mostly music industry because that's like my whole career and what I've always done. But I know that with me growing in the Bronx, hip hop and baseball was definite things because Yankee Stadium was like nearby, and hip hop, of course, originated in the Bronx. So I always tell people that like I had to become involved in hip hop. But what I want to know from you is, being that you are actually uh, I don't want to say trained, but you're an actual writer, and your I guess your goal, since you went to school for writing, your goal was to become a writer. What led you down to that path of wanting to write?
Well, I didn't know that I liked writing until my mother forced me to take journalism as an elective, and I didn't really understand because in high school it was called computer journalism, and I didn't really understand what the concept was and all that. And then I found out that my track coach was the teacher for it, and my mom is, she I'm from a Caribbean family from Belize, and we come up with we come from the thought of everybody has to be a doctor or a lawyer, like there's no in between. So she was on me in school and made sure that I took, certain electives that would help. And excuse me, my biggest job is being a mom. And anytime I'm on one of these webinars or calls, that's when my son wants to come right here. And like, what, like, I need you to go do something somewhere else. And if you're in the living room, I need you to keep it quiet, please. Thank you.
He heard a buzzing in his ear. Time to bug mom.
I think he just wants to be on screen, y'all. You want them to interview you? See, he said sure. It's the Leo in him. So anyways, yeah, so I was forced to take an elective, and it was journalism, and I liked every part of it, not just the writing part, the talking to people, putting it into words. And at that time I was a junior in high school, so I was also taking, like, at that time, AP English, and understanding that, oh wait, I liked how to write essays too, and like the creative writing. So all of this was like, I'm finding my words, and how much, and how beautiful I can put them together, and in an eloquent way. And I just like the storytelling element of it all. So that's when I was like, oh, well, maybe I'm gonna be a writer. And simultaneously, and I'm dating myself here, but a young lady who used to be the first lady, she was running for senator of New York, and she came to speak at my school, and I was one of the two that got to interview her when she was, came to our school to do her campaign visit. And so here I am taking pictures with Miss Hillary Clinton, and I was so excited. I dropped all of my notes as I stood up to ask my question, and she came over and she helped me pick them up. If there was if there was social media, then we would have went viral. Like, it was a moment. So anyways, it was that she was my first ever celebrity interview, and to have, the first lady, who, was, after that, became senator, having the chance to interview her, that really set the mark for me of like what my capabilities were. And so I focused on that in college as like, oh, I'm going to be a writer. And in college, even though I became a writer in my school paper, I learned quickly that everywhere wasn't as diverse and culture friendly as my hometown. So when I got to the school paper, and I'm, as light as I am, I'm still the darkest one on the paper. And I didn't get an editor position. I was news writing up until my junior year, and there was an editor position open, and the only editor position open was and I was the last to get picked as an editor, and the only one space left was the entertainment section. And so I said, well, I'm gonna show them this is gonna be the best section of the paper. And with that, I started meeting people in the entertainment business. All the record label people were pitching me and wanting me to write, or have my writers write for the entertainment section and whatnot. And so now I have relationships at all the labels, especially Def Jam. And I meet Mike Money, who was under Rob Love at the time. And he's like, oh, you should come be an intern for me this summer. And so I did. And then again, each of these things lead to other internships in the entertainment space. I've interned at ABC for One Life to Live. I was like, okay, I don't know, TV is interesting, but I don't know if this part is for me yet. I interned under Wendy Williams, so learned radio. I said, this is interesting, not knowing if it's for me yet. Again, interned at Def Jam. This is interesting, not sure how it all is piecing together. After college, I started writing for Advertising Age and In Touch Weekly, because uh, my temp at the time at Advertising Age, she was she was working after she stopped being my temp. And for those of you who don't know, a temp is like an assistant, and she was only a temp for a few months, but we could build a good rapport. She ended up going to write for In Touch Weekly, and she her editor, her boss, had went on maternity leave and never came back. So she got the editor position. And she was like, Chanel, you want to come write for me? And I was like, hell yeah. So here I am writing for Ad Age and In Touch Weekly in the evening. This is my early 20s, like right out of college. And one summer, and again, aging myself, the NAACP is having their centennial. And at that time, I'm sure you guys remember another senator who was a senator of Illinois, was also running a campaign, and he made a stop at this centennial. And my partner Ian and I, who we were friends in college, and we had started a magazine in college. The NAACP calls us that summer and was like, "Hey, do you guys want to put together one of those fashion shows that you had put together to promote your magazine, but you want to do it for our centennial for the youth and college division?" And I really, like, again, young out of college, you're like, this is an easy check. I said, I'm writing at In Touch. I know a couple C and D list celebrities. I know some writers. I could put together a little fake red carpet. And we did that. And I did PR for the fashion show. And the fashion show got more press than more press attention than the senator that came to speak at the time, who then becomes our, first Black president. But that neither here nor there. At that time, no one was caring, is the point. Again, dating myself, but by that October, the stock market crashes. Books are starting to close left and right. I get laid off at Ad Age. I stopped getting that many assignments from In Touch. Hold on one second.
This is why I don't have any children. Let me stop.
Sorry, like, I see you guys hear it. I said it nicely like 3 times, guys. I said it nicely. He only goes upstairs when I start yelling, and I have to mute it. So, anyways, yes. So books start closing left and right. I got laid off from Ad Age, and I say to Ian, I said, maybe we should start that. People wanted us to do PR. I said, maybe we need to take this PR thing seriously. So we bring in another partner. At the time, her name is Sasha Thompson. Sasha came in and kind of cleaned us up. At the time, she was doing PR for Brooklyn Museum. She was the one to start. Was it First Sundays, or was it? Yeah, I think First Sundays at the Brooklyn Museum. And she doesn't do PR anymore, but she came in and kind of, cleaned up our act per se, and showed us the rope, and kind of cleaned up our organization. And ever since then, one client led to another client, led to another client, led to another, and predominantly by word of mouth and referrals.
That's good. I mean, that's always how it starts, where nothing is what it's supposed to be, but it ends up the way it needs to be. So
right.
That's always a good thing.
And what I did learn is that PR encompassed all of the things that I liked from each of those internships, and that was the surprise for me. And I wish that, again, I knew about different options of career, because maybe I would have pieced together all of that sooner. But again, things happen the way they're meant to happen.
I'm about to say, yeah, but if you had done it that way, then maybe you would have gone in a different direction. And
right,
you may have been an engineer right now. No. So, being that, like, we work in an industry that's so fickle and so not Well, back then it was a little more steady when it comes to like jobs and things of that nature. So when you started, I think I'm probably about a couple weeks older than you. But when I first started in the industry, like being with hip hop, we didn't have jobs like that. So we basically all became entrepreneurs in such a way where we did our own things because what we were doing wasn't being done before. So as an early entrepreneur, um, going into a field that you had no idea you were going to go into, how are you able to navigate? Of course, getting the clients was probably one of the easiest things because of your connections. But as far as navigating the business aspects and just, you know, the making mistakes, the I'm not going to do that anymore. Oh, this is how we do it. How are you able to navigate all of that and still stay sane? If you stay sane, because a lot of us don't stay sane
I
when we're.
mean, I definitely have my moments, right? But you become numb to the pain and and all of that sometimes, and sometimes it's a coping mechanism. Yes, it's definitely a learn as you go. But I am, I'm proud of the entrepreneurship mindset that not only myself had, but the people around us. I was actually just on in another speaking engagement and brought this up. Like, I come from the time where starting in this industry, there was no hashtag. I was one of 20 people on Twitter. And we would literally start trending topics just for shits and giggles because we were on lunch break and, at jobs, at our entry level jobs, and we're messing around on Twitter. And to see, people have whole careers and president titles of social media now. And it's like, we made this possible for y'all. And and my blogger crew friends, as I'm sure they're referenced from your generation, because we came right after y'all. And the cool kids of the blogs, we all got really cool jobs now just from messing around on social media. So do I understand, the now, again, I consider myself the middle child of the industry, where I learned from the greats and had amazing mentors, even if just in my head. But then understanding why I have, I'm the first to celebrate Akai Sanat and what he's doing with the streaming university and all that, because like, I understand how it all ties in, and can see and understand how I need to, consistently learn from the younger kids about what's going on if I'm truly marketing or publicizing anything, you know, and then still having the structure and the calmness of the generation before me. And, and so again, for me, it is, it's a little bit of both.
Well, I guess it's just a matter of like adapting because, of course, just in general, you have to adapt to the environment, and particularly in entertainment, it's like there's going to be something new tomorrow, and we're going to have to adjust to it anyway because it's going to adjust to us or take us out. Um,
Every two to 3 years is what I say.
yeah. So my question to you is, when it comes to you have like over the years you've had many different types of clients. Like it's not as if like you fit under one box and you only have one type of clients. So you've had like many. My question is, being that you've dealt with the clients that you have in the different fields, because I know it's been in music, acting, politics, things of that nature. How are you able to spearhead the correct campaign for people that, even if you have 7 clients at the same time, having the mindset or the creative fortitude to figure out what's best for the client, so that way, whether it's one client, whether it's 100, so that way they can get what they came to you for, and you can provide the services, and everyone's happy.
It's no
Everyone's not always happy, but just in general. But just in
Not.
general.
It's definitely, it's understanding that every campaign is different and should be treated as such. I don't care if they were all the same client, right? Meaning, look how many male rappers I have, right? But to me, they're all different, and they are. So they should be treated that way, meaning the same way I rep a bunch of DJs, but all of those DJs, they even work for the same company, and every single one of them are different. They have different, um, different tastes, different styles, different, what they like, what they don't like, all of that. And so it's always about getting to know the client so that you can sell the client. And I mean that in your messaging, your strategy, and what aligns more authentically with that, because the difference is the consumers today are much more smarter than than the consumers back then. It's why our parents and grandparents fall for the okey doke on the scams on text and all that, and Facebook and links and all that, because they come from the basic advertising world, and they buy into that. They are attached to these brands because their prism told them that no, this was good. We were taught to be skeptical about everything. Just because they told us that an apple a day will keep the doctors away, we're smart enough to know that the Apple industry made that phrase and to say, okay, like somebody's making money off of this, right? So it's not that. Look how long milk's been good for us. All of a sudden now it's not. Like, oh, so that means, like, again, we are very more skeptical with what brands we align ourselves with. And I'm sure my son, who just was here making noise, I'm sure he'll be even more in tune with the ads. These kids have an iPad from 3 and 4 years old, and they know to skip the ad. They know, they could tell right away what the ad is, and Chase couldn't even talk, but he knew to skip that ad.
Well, I do give you props for um, being able to navigate having to not only have the amount of clients you have and the different types, but also with the publications, because I'm pretty sure your list of publications is just like enormous, but then having to figure out which clients are good for which publications. As a writer, what I hate is when people pitch to me and they don't even know what my site is about, or like, pitching something to me that I would never even, not only not cover, but not even read myself.
I,
So
I
how are you able?
rule my interns, like,
Okay.
before you even think about pitching something, and I mean pitching it to me, much less to a journalist, you have to have taken a look at, if it's a blind pitch, meaning you don't know the person and you're just pitching the outlet. Have you looked at the site, the TV, the program, the platform, whatever it is? And matter of fact, not even do I do that with my interns, I'm making sure that what you're pitching is something that can easily plug and play to what the outlet or the writer is already doing. But even on the other side, when the client teams ask me, Chanel, can you get, especially when they know your brand alignments, Chanel, can you get Hot 97 to repost this? I said, I said, sure, I will go ahead and ask. I said, but do me a favor. Can you go on the platform on there and find me something that they just did similar? Because then that's easier. And they never come back to me. Why? Because what they're asking me is so beyond the scope of what the platform does. And it's like, I need you to see how ridiculous that is. Like, I'm good, but I'm not God.
Yeah.
Like,
And it's funny.
I ask the client teams now, not just the interns.
No, but I know, like I said, it's just like I've actually been offered to be a publicist years ago, and one thing that I couldn't, and I'm pretty sure I would be an excellent publicist because I'm a people person.
Are you good at begging all day? Because that's what I do all day. I
I was about to
am
say,
good at asking for shit.
I was going to say, how do you handle rejection? How do you handle, like, because I have a lot of publicists or people that contacts me, and I'm oblivious because I get 3,000 emails a day, and I'm slightly off, maybe about 2,500. But
I can imagine, because if, like, I've been on the webinars for the last hour and 45 minutes, and I'm scared to look at my email right now. Like, I'm probably like 300 in right now.
I get used to it because I tell people, like, if I'm supposed to see it, I'll see it. That's the only way I can look at it, because like there'll be certain trips that like will just pop up, and I'm like, oh, I want to go here. Now I'll miss other trips because I missed the email, but then I always say to people that
That's why subject lines matter.
yeah,
Subject line, if you get the most prominent information, first off, I like structure. So if you get an email from me, it says what it is. If it's an invite, you know it's an invite. If it's an interview request, it'll say interview request. If it's a like, I cannot stand when people don't have structure in their subject lines, because to me, when and why are we talking about multiple things in one email thread? That pisses me off thing too. Every single thing. And again, it's about time management and efficiency. I don't need to search through emails to figure out what we were talking about. And if I'm getting pitched in that way, I'm respectful of the people that I'm pitching. And understanding that the quicker read something is, and the fastest, like, to know if they're interested or not, that's what it needs to be.
I do know that I've had to learn over the years that because like I said, I get so many emails that I can't, if I took the time to respond to emails, I wouldn't have time to do what you're asking me to do.
Right.
So I try my best when I do get an email and I have no interest to try to immediately respond, because I know that your effort is still your time as well, because I might be getting the email to just not seeing it, and I might want to
For that, because sometimes people don't understand, my job is the relationship and the ask. After that, it's up to the content to deliver. So if someone is passing on something, I'd rather them say pass, because then I can go back to show the client, oh, look, they passed.
I've had to learn that, because like when people ask me and I'm like, I'm not, whatever. And then somebody actually spoke to me. It was like, well, this, that, I have to tell the client this, that. I'm like, yeah, I reached out to you 5 times, you responded, but then this, that, then they're gonna. I'm like, okay, so now I get it. I'm a little better, but I also have, but it's also a matter of my relationship, because if you're asking me something, I'm more than likely to respond to you because we have a relationship already, as opposed to people that's just like contact me out of the blue, or people that get mad at me because I say no to something, and then maybe the next time I'll say yes to something, and I think it's like I couldn't do that, because one, I would hit too many people. I would pull up to their spot and be like, I don't like the way you responded to me in that email, and we're gonna have a discussion.
I think people just need to, and maybe putting yourself in other people's feet, in other people's shoes. I think for me, it is understanding, and that maybe it's because I rep a lot of media people too, right? Like I rep a lot of jocks and understand how they get pitched all day. And the same way as me being a writer and remembering what it was like when people were pitching me stuff for In Touch, and understanding that you can't say yes to everything. You got people to answer to, and your bosses have people to answer to. So it's understanding that on both sides. But for me, it is it's also in the approach, meaning the approach from me, even certain things I have to pitch my clients to on behalf of another client. But if I know that they aren't ready for them, and by all means, like I can give you guys an example. This is not a secret. So today, after we're done here, I'm going to get my son out the house, and we are going to. Peter Rosenberg is finally interviewing Zeddy Will, and I say that finally because this is, look, again, they're both my clients. Rosenberg, I'm sure he would have done it as a favor a long time ago, but to me, Zeddy wasn't ready for him. Drewski, it's his job to cover emerging artists, and so there is a difference there of that support. And this is what I mean about two clients being, very similar and being at the same company, but drastically different in how you approach them. So to me, if Zeddy wasn't ready for Rosenberg, then I have to be mindful of that. I can introduce them and say, hey, this is Zeddy. You need to pay attention. He's not ready for you yet, but please do. It's just saying the same thing about, think about it as a TV. I can, have a client walk red carpet on the BET Awards, but that doesn't mean they're ready for the Today Show. You have to realize what you're pitching, and not only what you're pitching, where your client is. What stage is more realistic? And if you're not ready to have that conversation internally with yourself before you send out a pitch, how can you do that with the client teams? And at some point, you got to have a backbone if they're asking for things that you know, just does make sense, because you will get that pressure, especially from the more seasoned teams. Their expectation levels are so dramatically high, and you have to dumb it down and say, sorry, this client is not there yet.
Yeah.
Here's what makes sense and that will be on board. And as they do that, I can use this to then pitch something else, and we can repurpose it. It's easier to, whatever.
Now, I'm being cognizant of your time because I know as you say, you have things to do. But I've realized that over the years, because PR, there's marketing, there's PR, there's just so many different things that encompasses, like, just life in general, realistically. But with your company, you actually do branding, PR, events, bowling. No, let me stop. I know you do so many things. How are you able to actually be able to not necessarily focus, because like I said, there's many different things, but how are you able to determine what goes with what and when, just because you are just who you are?
That is a good question. We can, this is definitely some plugs for a lot of my clients, but somebody like Honey Baby. Honey Baby recently had her first event. If we were doing this a year ago or 2 years ago when we first started, helping with her development, she was not ready for an event. What good is having a party if nobody comes? And yes, could, I fill a room if I got some open bar? I'm sure there are people, right? But the difference between her party, just having a full room compared to her party getting picked up by People magazine, timing is everything. You have to crawl before you walk. So it's the same principles. You've come to a lot of my media introduction dinners. Those are more realistic and more on brand for an emerging brand of any type, whether it's an author, me showing you a book, we had one for a book a few months ago, and or a new liquor company with a tasting or something like that. I think you have to do a full brand assessment, and the first thing, ask yourself, would you come to this event? And if so, why? Is it for just the just is it just the free alcohol, or is it, are you really engaged with whatever the brand is?
Now, damn, I hate when I do this because it's right there and then it leaves me. But oh, you know what? I'll make it simple for me. What advice or suggestion would you give to anyone that wants to do what you're doing or come into the line of work that you're doing?
Find numerous mentors. Even at this stage of my career, I'm still reaching up and asking for guidance. It may not be in the traditional settings of, like, an hour a week, but it is, small coffee, or in what the pandemic has taught us is that we can do these things virtual. I don't need to pay $18 toll to have a conversation with somebody. Like, we can, pick up on FaceTime if it's necessary, or Google Meet, or make it work. The point is that, it's just reaching out and asking for advice or expertise on one topic that you're dealing with. And again, as you grow in your career, still do these things. Right now having internal conflict with a client, and I'm probably going to reach out to one of my mentors, and ask, how do I reset this relationship with a client in a professional but understanding what type of entity I'm dealing with. and doing it with grace. So don't be afraid to ask for advice, basically.
Now, for those that, even though I've been in the game for a couple of months now, I do know that there are times when there are campaigns and what is the typical average? Now I know that there's sometimes you may have a project that you'll have literally for years, but then you may have a project that might be short term. What would you say is the average, or at least the average for you when it comes to working with a client? Because a lot of people don't understand some of the
3 months.
goes
Three
into it.
months. 3 months is a collective campaign. That's your standard. And depending on the relationship, you might stumble into a relationship where you just have someone on retainer, or in a lot of cases for me, it's having them on my roster, but they may not be active at the moment. They aren't active until they have a campaign that we're literally coming up with a strategy to publicize whatever project they're working on. So it could be a DJ where there isn't much news for a DJ per se, so they're on my roster, but am I creating moments for them? Oh, we're gonna do a full concert or festival around your brand. Now this is your entity. So now, yes, there is a campaign attached to that. Or they're putting out their own body of work where they're executive producing a body of work with select artists and so on, but it's their project. So yes, and then that would be considered its own campaign. So there's a lot of instances where that happens. Someone is on your roster list, but they don't have an active campaign. It's kind of like, oh well, such and such at this media outlet is looking for a producer. Oh, this is a good fit for Salam or Hitmaker or something like that.
How do you since you rep so many brands, because I know nowadays people are brands now, and since you rep so many brands and they intersect, how often do you get the chance to as not as a connector, as a friend, but as a business, how often do you get, or do you often get the chance to connect your brands together for the sake of whatever campaign is going on?
What I've learned is that all my clients are like, it's like I'm the mom and they're my children. They don't mind, siblings don't mind being together and doing stuff, but they all want individual mommy time. They all want to be your favorite. They all, want you to pay attention to them. And it becomes, competitive in its own right, just like say a bunch of artists at a label, right? Everybody's fighting for the label's time.
That makes sense. What couple okay, what is the most difficult thing about your job? Like what what is it that when you have those days where you just want to choke somebody or everybody or whatever, like what would be the worst thing that can get you? Like, I've never seen you in any mood outside of you being either happy or focused. So, I don't know if I want to see it, but
It's
we're all
funny you
human.
say that. I don't think my team would say that.
That's the reason I say it's like I got to base it on my experience because I don't
Right.
work with you. When I do work with you, it's conditional for this client or whatever. So I'm not there for the daily or the even weekly thing.
And
So
that's what I want to say where my need of mentorship is understanding how to be the best manager, if that makes sense. Like, not that I can't still grow in the outreach space and in specifics, but in order for my company to grow, certain things have to happen. And what I have to remember is the same way, my mom would say she ain't raise everyone. I have to remember that people don't think the way I think, they don't move the way I move, and that even is within my own team. So I have to be more conscious of that and be mindful that sometimes even what I think is annoying and that I shouldn't have to tell people, you can't assume that they would do it like you would. And that is even internally. So even though I'm annoyed, I still have to tell someone to do X, Y, and Z. And that is frustrating for me. And I have to learn how to deal with my emotions around that. Because in my mind, if I'm focusing on other things, you have a team for a reason, and they should know to just do, especially those of them who've been there for that long. And it shouldn't be, if I need to tell you, if you're finished with this, go ahead and do that. Or if you know something is coming, this is not a new rodeo. You should be getting started. So again, though, that's the learning for me at this stage of how best to manage others. Is very I'm still a work in progress in that, without, I guess, losing my emotion of it. And then, and we say this all the time, we're so used to men being, rah 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 in leadership positions, but anytime a woman does it, everyone's taken aback. you know my son's dad could yell till he's blue in the face, probably, or even his stepdad, and wouldn't think twice about it. But the minute I raise my voice, it's mommy's in a mood. What? But it's the same principles in business.
I'm going to wind down because I want you. Is there anything that you're working on or you're about to work on that you would like to talk about? Of course, something that you're not going to, or but is there anything?
For me, it is just advising everyone to keep reinventing themselves. Don't put all your eggs into one basket. Be careful of the logos that you attach yourself to, and understanding that they're just like any other relationship, right? Like, I have friends that have lost their positions over, the past few years, that have been with these companies for so long. And even while you're good, making sure that you're doing just enough to keep your profiles, your resumes, your everything up to date, so that constantly you could be the one in demand and not out being the, searching. So that means if you're just in any job, just making sure that you are following that rule of thumb, and to make sure that you are always, spreading out and having multiple streams of revenue, because in these days nothing is promised.
Especially these days. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, and
Thank you.
and even though I only got to like 4 things on the list, no, like I
No,
said,
we can do a part two. I think.
we definitely need to talk here, because like I said, there's so many things that I know that people would want to hear, coming from you and what you've done and what you're doing. And like I said, I definitely want to use this forum to make sure that, if nothing else, like, I don't care about me in that essence when I do these. I want people to recognize who I'm talking to, because there's a reason why I'm talking to you. And that's
I
basically
appreciate it. I really, really do. I remember there were times, I just wanted to be respected by the youth of the world, and to now sit across from you, it really, really means a lot. And I don't take that lightly. Like, I beg for ish all day. So the minute you ask for something, I get like, yes, absolutely. What are we doing? I can, you know. So I really, really appreciate, you recognizing me, and I'm still out here working, man. I got much more ahead of me. I want to start even branching out into other things right now. I'm still a connector of sorts. Some I will share with you privately, and then hopefully we can share it publicly on your platform. So
okay.
there's even that.
I look forward to it, and then I say thanks for your time.
Okay. Yes.
If is there any way that people can get in touch with you if they want to
Absolutely.
get advice, work?
You definitely can DM me. Just no, I do respond. If I don't respond there, immediately, just give me a business day or two. But I'm not that girl. I will respond. Just I have one rule: don't be a weirdo. Don't be a weirdo. So yes, you can find me on social, all social at PQ Chanel, and you can definitely email me. This is LinkedIn. You can message me here. Like again, I respond, just not right away, but I do respond. It's my job to be in touch with people.
You're much better than me because I might respond, and if I respond, it might be 2 months later. Not on purpose, but
I respond. I'm not, what they say. I'm not that light skinned. That's what they say on social. This LinkedIn, we got to be more focused. I'm professional, guys. I promise.
Well, once again, thank you for your time. Good luck with any and everything. Of course, I got your back. If I can do anything, I will. And for those watching now, as I've always stated, my friends are better than yours. And if you think you have friends better than me, introduce me, and I bet you that I will prove you wrong. As a matter of fact, I would say that your friends that you think are better than my friends are probably my friends already. Right. Until the next time, BIGCED, the industry co-sign, Chanel Rae, the Legion Media Group, and everyone enjoy the rest of their day, night, whatever you're watching this. Enjoy. Until next time.